Hello, everyone. My name is Tom Foster, and this is Sports Talk. It's interesting because, we have two shows. One is called Talk of the Town, the other is called Sports Talk. And for our guest tonight, it's someone who could fit either category. This person has been a civic leader in our town and is also a legendary sports figure in our town. So in trying to figure out how to narrow it down, let's go with the sport because everybody knows him from his civic participation. The guest today that I have out with me is Dennis Donovan. Dennis, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Tom.
Good to
It's
see
my
you.
pleasure to be here. Absolutely. And I want to start off by saying I just want to thank you so much
My pleasure.
for trying to get people interested in more shows for the Valley Shore Community TV. For years, I've often wondered why other towns like Valley, HK, and all have had shows all the time on there. And I wish more people from Clinton would step up. Particularly probably here at the high school, to do this filming and as you had told me off camera, to talk about all the wonderful things that happen here in the town of Clinton.
And that's the intent of the show, is to highlight those. And like I said to you off camera, Dennis, there's so many good things that are going on in this town that people might not ever hear about. And one of the things we want to do in an upcoming broadcast for the Talk of the Town, not Sports Talk, and that's to talk about the George Flynn concert series and what that means. And it's free.
Yep.
And so we'll be doing a show on that as well. But let's get back to you. First of all, Dennis, just to make sure everybody knows this is a legend in our town, talk first about your involvement in town politics. How long have you been in the town of Clinton, you and your lovely wife, Betty?
Well, my wife Betty and I have been here since '66, and I think, as I mentioned to you down there at the food festival, where you did an interview with me kindly, that was very nice. I got involved in politics. The Park Rec Commission in 1988, and I was on there for about 14 years, and then in 2001 I was lucky enough to get elected to selectman, and so from there on I just stayed mostly with politics. Board of Finance for 8 to 10 years, and then I went to a little sabbatical, and then they asked me to come out here a couple years ago and do the charter revision and investigate about the fact of a town manager. And so after we were successful in getting that as a charter revision, I decided, well, let me be a part of at least the first town council to make sure it gets off on the right foot. But that's been my political background. As far as
Let's get into your sports background.
sports, well, the sports I got started really, Morgan, as you know, didn't start football until probably 72, 73. And 74 and 75, they had two great teams, and I was fortunate enough to have friends who had sons on that team, the Dunn brothers, Timmy and Billy. And so I started getting involved watching the Morgan games there. And in 78, I got involved with the Clinton Touchdown Club and coached with the Clinton Touchdown Club for about 14 years or so, actively, until the high school called me up at 1989 and said, we'd like to have you take over the freshman program, which I did, and did that for about 7 or 8 years, and then they graduated me to the JV. And then at the end, the last 3 or 4 years, I worked with Mr. Underwood. He was the head coach, and then Bob Potter, who's our park director, he ended up being the head coach. And I was their assistant varsity in charge of special teams, kicking, the field goals, and punting, kickoffs, kickoff returns. So that was basically, where I got started or continued along. I just always had an attraction for football. Even after I was coaching and left the Touchdown Club, I still was their town representative. We switched from just a little local Touchdown Club of 4 or 5 teams, and some gentlemen in about 1981 from Madison, Branford, East Haven, Guilford, Saybrook said, we got together and got a meeting and said, we should form a youth football conference that sort of mimics the Shoreline Football League.
Okay.
And so we did.
Right.
And it's still in existence. Of course, now it's all over the state. It's gotten quite large. But so I stayed as the town rep for that for another 10 years, even though I was coaching Morgan, other places
You
like
got
that.
little stuff going on in town as well.
Yeah, well, yeah, like I say, most of the time it was Park Rec. Seriously, up until 201 when I became a selectman, I was always Park Rec and various building committees.
Yep.
I was fortunate enough even to be on the building committee here for the New Morgan School and some of the track over at the old field and things of that nature. It's been a great run. I've enjoyed it all the time. Of course, my wife would tell you something different because she always said,
Must like getting you out of the house, though, doesn't she?
well, she did. After a while, she realized that, man, that's what makes a good marriage.
That's right.
Because
Absence makes the heart grow fonder.
the guy's not here. Because basically, she used to always say, I'm a widow in the fall because I never see you all fall. You're either with the touchdown club, you're over with Morgan, you're with someone like that. But I said, well, but she realized that I needed this outlet. I worked in corrections for 24 years and retired out of corrections in '88. And so this was a big difference. And I guess that was one of my feelings about the fact that I had seen youth in its worst place. So I wanted to make sure that the youth never got there. So I was always, counseling the kids as I went along. But no, I've had a great run. I have enjoyed every moment of it. It's been a lot of time, but I've had a lot of awards that came to me. Very humbly, I say, they named a press box after me over there at the Elliott School, the Little League. I got involved with the field restoration, so then they decided very nicely to dedicate the press box to me, and I've had.
Congratulations, that's great.
Well, thank you, and I've also gotten a couple of commendations. One from the state legislature for being active in the town sports, and also from the Secretary of State, Susan Beisowitz, when she was Secretary of State.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's been a good run. It's been very rewarding. Most of the time, the rewarding part is the youth themselves.
Sure. Absolutely.
Even though I coached at Morgan, I don't know, like I said, 14 years, it's funny. The ones that really touch base with you is the little guy, he's little no more.
Now they're big.
And they come up and say, Coach, you coached me in the midgets. Yeah. And, just to give an example of that, the fellow that's on the town council with me now, Chris Pasanti. Now, I coached Chris when he was just a little guy playing for the Giants in Clinton, and here he is on the town council with me. So that's the way town should be.
As a matter of fact, I saw that the other night when we were doing the Rockville game. One of your ex-players came up, John Abate, and came up and said, "Hey, Coach, nice to see you," and so on and so forth. So it must be really gratifying to you to take these kids from that age to John, now being in his 40s, and still coming back and understanding what you have done for their career, and that's going to make you feel good inside.
It does. It like again, you don't want to be like bragging about it all the time, but no, it does make you feel well that you've made an imprint on someone in a positive way. Through the years, not to get off the subject too much, but we've had, even when they were little kids and midgets and stuff, boys that weren't from the families that were sometimes one parent families, either mother or father, and other type of situations that a youth just needed somebody to talk to, maybe, or just
A parental figure.
something like that. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. You can obviously see I'm with royalty. So today we're really privileged because I got royalty here and I got royalty behind the camera.
Yes.
As you know, Iris was named the queen of the homecoming, which of course they're referred to now as royalty. So we got to be behind and in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of that, Dennis, anybody who's come to a Morgan football game, well, you're obviously familiar with that voice. Dennis is the voice of the Morgan Huskies. And when did you get involved in doing the actual the PA announcing for the games, Dennis?
I believe it was probably about 5 or 6 years ago. I just don't even know how it happened.
Peter Nye said he's had something to do with it.
He probably did. Somewhere along the line, Pete used to do a lot of touchdown announcing for the touchdown club and things of that nature. And I think he even did some Morgan game. I'm not sure, before he was coach. And I guess they needed someone. I forgot the gentleman's name that did it and moved out of town. And we had a student from Morgan, and he could no longer do it. He got a full-time, job. So someone said, "Hey, D, you had done a couple Willie Fritz had asked me to do a couple of ball games over on the baseball field for the bigger kids,
Okay.
and even a couple of Morgan baseball games. So he said, you're not shy to the camera or
That's
the
for sure.
microphone, so why don't you pick it up? So I said, yeah, sure. I've always wanted to do that, and I always liked doing that.
Well, you do a great job. You're
Well, thank you.
you're very engaging with the fans. It's nice to see that you're saying hello to people in the stands,
yeah,
and
well,
it's great because you make them feel like they're part of the game, which they
It's
should be.
funny, it's them, or I coach their kids or their grandkids or someone. It's nice. It's very rewarding to see them all out there.
Yeah. See, actually gets people to go out the stand and get us food and get some French fries and stuff.
Yeah,
They're feeding the man, right?
Yeah, well,
That's great.
it was very nice of them that what would he get? French fries.
Those French fries, they're pretty good.
Yeah, the yellow.
No, you ate most of them,
Well, Bill,
but you don't look it.
the devil, you say?
Now, Dennis, having followed these kids for so long and being involved in sports, are there some things that are very memorable that stick out in your mind? Some of the games that, I said, wow, I'm really glad I was here to see that. I'm really glad to see a specific student. And what are some of the more memorable things you've seen in the town, sports program?
Well, I was involved. Of course, I went to the '87 championship game when we won it 3-0 on a kick by Mike Ruggiero. He kicked a field goal and we beat Berlin. That was the first time we were in the official state playoffs, and that was up in Stores, and that was a great moment. Maybe about 13 years later, in 2000, it wasn't so great because we were down in West Haven and we were playing Sacred Heart of Waterbury. We had a lead at halftime, but we ended up losing that ball game in a heartbreaker in overtime, 32-26. So it was memorable, but in the wrong way. Plus, I've been involved in a couple of games like that. I remember us in North Branford on a Friday night. We got involved, I believe it was 3 overtimes.
Wow.
What a ball game. It was well played by both teams, and North Branford ended up winning it. And but I guess the main thing, too, is, I've had the opportunity to coach a young fellow by the name of Dave Wallen, and I think I mentioned it to you the other day that, David is one of several that are still in the Connecticut High School record book.
Wow. So why don't you go through? Dennis is not only a great guy, and he's not only does all these things in town, but he's also a historian, a sports historian. Why don't you go through some of these stats you've kept over the years, Dennis?
Okay, I will. Well, let me start off a little bit with Morgan. Morgan's right now has a fellow by the name of Kenny Crawford, and I think I wanted to bring this up because it's a very long-lasting, I guess, is what I should trying to say. Record, 17 ball games consecutively, gaining 100 yards.
Wow.
He's tied for 6th in the state. He did that in 77 through 79. Wow. And that's some achievement.
That certainly is. Right?
17 games. But we had the young fellow I talked about, Dave Wallen. He was a wonderful cookie here from Morgan. He did field goals and extra points. He's in there 4 times still. Jake Ward, I'm sure you heard about Jake just in the last, several years. Jake is in there 6 times for mostly all rushing yardage, rushing careers, scored in the game, scored in the season. And, of course, Andrew Nye, he just did that last year. He's in there 6 times. Most of all his accomplishments are passing. We had Garrett Garbinski come in last year.
Great Garbinski.
Yep. And Alex Fradamico, he got in there last year. And, of course, Rob Stopkowski, he's tied for 5th for most interceptions, and that goes way back to that 87 to 90 team, which was a very good ball club.
Wow.
And, of course, you remember his brother Ron, who was just outstanding halfback, and he was in there for many years, and finally his records got eclipsed where I think after you go to about 15th or so, they started, take you out of the book. They only take the top 15. But Morgan's had a great career. I mean, they've had 2 undefeated, untied seasons in 1974 and 1987. Right now, their overall record is lifetime is 267 wins, 230 losses, and 5 ties, and I believe it's something like a 564 average or something, which places them 27th right now in overall win and loss for the entire state. That's not
Wow,
bad.
that's not
When you
bad.
consider a little small Morgan. Yeah. But I guess some of the things I really wanted to touch on with you that I had mentioned that, again, I've always been involved. I loved high school sports, and so I got started in '76, keeping track of all the teams in the state playoffs and things of that nature. And so I compiled a little something which I've always been waiting to get on TV.
Well, you're going to get it on right now, Dennis.
It's called the Donovan Top 30.
All right.
And it's based on the fact that strictly on the state playoff system that started in '76.
Okay.
And what it is you get 4 points for making an appearance and 5 points if you win in your division.
Okay.
And so you have a possible of 9 points.
Okay.
And
Is this a system you dreamed up?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I just made it up and just to try to keep track. And, for years I used to run across people in my travels as a coach and whatever. And also, I was a referee for about 8 to 10 years.
Is there anything you haven't? Is there anything you haven't done?
Well, when it comes to football, probably not. Unbelievable.
Say, if you could help me paint my house today, that'd be great.
Well, I don't know. Does that come under football?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I'm a football player, helping a football player.
There you go.
So let's go through some of these statistics.
Ansonia now, of course, we all know that. I mean, they're just a dominant school up there for an S ball club.
Let me hold this.
They've been in the playoffs now 40 times
Wow.
and won 20 championships. So they lead my top 30, of course, by having 260 points. But what's surprisingly,
This is for the whole state, all divisions?
all divisions, all states. Yeah, I've been following them since '76.
Wow.
And Han next door, the town next door, for
Madison,
a long
yep.
time. Yeah, Madison. Yeah, they were right up there. They got 23 appearances, 13 championships, but they fell to third recently because that little St. Joseph's from Trumbull.
Wow.
Just I guess they started out as an S school.
Wow.
They've moved up by division. I think they're playing them now.
Yeah.
And of course they're in that tough division down there with the Fairfield.
Yeah.
And they've moved into second place. They've got 21 appearances. So anyways, I've just kept track of them. St. Joe's, Hamden, Bloomfield, Greenwich, Darien, and then it goes all the way down. Unfortunately, Morgan doesn't have enough divisional, or I should say appearances. Yeah, because we've been in there 6 times. I told you we won 1, and unfortunately the last 5 times we've gotten defeated.
Yep.
Of course, last year was to a very good Bloomfield team, so we had nothing to be ashamed of at all. But I guess the final thing that I'd like to really talk to you also about is that I think you either have it in that hand or is that I also kept track basically because back in 1989 or so, the New Haven Register had a little article that said, here's the top 30 teams of the local New Haven area, wins and losses of the 80s. And I started with that, and I've kept it up ever since.
Wow.
So since 1980,
Yep.
these are the wins and losses of. Now I could be off 1 or 2.
That's okay.
I try to check, but Ansonia, of course, is 439 wins. There, now Han comes right in second, 341. Look at that.
Wow.
Now, what's amazing was Morgan's still right up there. They're 17th.
That's good.
That's not bad.
That's not bad
That's
at
not
all,
bad out of
especially
30.
for a small school.
For a small school.
And you said that's all divisions.
All divisions, yep. Mostly, like I said, I just watched the New Haven area. It was easy to get the
Shoreline. Yep.
Shoreline. And I'll tell you another one. I'll give a plug for the guys that just beat the heck out of us here a couple of weeks ago, Valley Regional. But Valley Regional has moved up to 11th.
Wow.
I mean, their program has constantly been, better and better.
Upgraded.
All through the years. And they have a state championship under their belt, under Timmy King, I believe. And they're 240, 250.
Wow.
And North Branford's right behind them.
Right.
So the Shoreline,
It's very well represented.
very well represented between Valley and North Branford and Clinton. and Morgan, of course. And the last statistic that people really get a kick out of, I think, would be this. It was tough to like pick leagues and follow leagues because they changed leagues quite a bit.
Yep.
I mean, even Morgan. I mean, we started off in the Shoreline League, and then after the Shoreline League sort of disbanded because other schools went into the SEC, Hand and whatever. Well, before that, we went a thing called the Coastal, and we played some very tough teams in our time. I mean, we've played Xavier, we've played a lot of the Milford schools, Law, Bunnell, Massac. We've played large schools as well as just the small schools. We played very tough schedules for years.
Right. Still are.
We still are now, and the Pequot has really gotten itself, as you know. I mean, Cromwell represented us very well last year and won the state title. So what I did just for kicks and giggles is I said, well, I can't keep track of leagues, where they are, blah, blah. So I just go by counties.
Okay.
And for years, New Haven County was dominant with 80, or for a long time, not at 80. But Fairfield County has caught them. Wow. Fairfield County has caught them. Hartford County has 34. Middlesex is getting there. We've got, we're a small county, I guess, when you talk about those two. And, of course, you've got Morgan with 1, Cromwell 2, Valley 1, Xavier's had 5, Middletown 3. So they've done us well in the Middlesex.
Sure.
We're doing better.
Yeah.
But so I've done all those little.
That's great, Dennis.
It keeps you busy.
Besides all the other stuff you're doing.
Well, the thing of it is, I've always said high school football to me is probably one of the purest forms of football. You know?
And community involvement, and it's so nice when I'm up in the booth with you, Dennis. First of all, it's really great to hear your interaction with the teams and everything. But it's also nice just to watch the kids and the enthusiasm and coming together on a Friday night and celebrating not only football but celebrating life and celebrating family and friends, and that's what a community is all about.
Absolutely.
And that's going to give you a lot of gratification to see that happen in front of you in your eyes when you watch everybody having a good time.
And you noticed this past ball game, we did a very solemn ceremony there
For cancer.
breast cancer.
Right.
And we named off the individuals in town that have either passed away or survived it or still have it, and stuff of that nature. And I give credit to the school. They often try to do things like that. And last year we went through a very, very bad spell, if you will. We lost 2 or 3 wonderful people that were engaged in our town big time. Harry Swan, you heard the name Harry Swan, named the baseball league after him. Harry Swan, Little League Baseball. And Harry was a legend. And Harry, when he passed, and then we lost a wonderful DPW director, Mr. Peter Neff. And so we did like a moment of silences all the time before ball games. So I think last year we must have did out of 5 home games, 4 times we had people that we would like to recognize. And so again, like you said, it involves the entire community.
Sure. Cancer is such an awful thing. Like we talked about during the game, and my mom died of cancer when she was only 46. Wow. I was diagnosed with I was only given a very short period of time to live, and that was 28 years ago, and I'm still here. And so my heart goes out to all the cancer patients, their families, and all those who are going through the trials and tribulations of cancer. And that's just one of many diseases and ailments a lot of people have in this community. But each time these people are in need, I think this community comes to their assistance and helps and puts their loving arms around them, and that's what this community is all about. And that's why you got to be so proud for all you've done for this community, Dennis, and everything you'll continue to do. And I just have to congratulate you on what you've done, and also and on behalf of the town, thank you for all you've done, because you deserve a lot of credit.
Well, like I said, I love it. If I didn't love it and enjoy it, probably never would have done it. It's the same thing with the politics. Like I said, in 2001, I sort of had to step away from all the sports stuff. Because it got involved with all the politics, selectmen and everything else. And like I said, I did a little bit of a sabbatical there. And then Pete dragged me out of the closet there. He said, come on, you got to come out there. So, of course, you can't refuse Pete anything, you know.
No,
You just can't refuse him. So, anyways, but it's been, again, like I say, it's just so heartwarming when young men come up to you and say, you know, they remember you and blah, 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 blah.
Well, Dennis, thank you so much for doing this interview. Thanks for all your wonderful statistics. I hope that people appreciate all the historical work you've done since 1977. That's pretty good. And I also want to thank your wife, Betty, for putting up with you all these years. And,
Definitely.
you know, because without a spouse's support, it's hard to do this stuff and be out in the public and, you know, do these things that you do so well. So I want to thank Betty for her participation in allowing the man, the myth, and the legend to be with us. So you
I'm
might
sure
want
she
to
appreciates
give a
that.
shout
Believe
out,
me, Lizzie, I love you.
all right. You can't say any better than that, Lizzie. So, again, this is Tom Foster. This is Sports Talk with Dennis Donovan. And, of course,
Let me just say one more thing.
one more thing. Okay.
Now, you know what we got to do? We got to get like a call-in show.
That would
That's
be
what
great.
we got to do.
All right.
You know, we got to keep Iris or somebody that can replace Iris.
Nobody's going to be able to
She'll
replace
be
Iris.
leaving. Well, that's for sure. But sooner or later, she's going off to college and going on to bigger and better things, and she'll be on one of these World News
She's going
Association.
to be on ESPN. She's going to be a sideline reporter.
Oh, that'd be great. But, you know, somebody will pick up the torch, hopefully, at Morgan and continue this thing. And we should do like a sports talk and let people call in and ask us questions about high school football.
We'll try.
And we'll try to answer them.
All right. Well, we'll think about
we
that.
gotta get some interest.
Well, we need
going.
your
What do you
support.
think,
Yeah,
Tom?
I'd love to do
no,
it.
We need your. Well, you need our support. You're
That's right. I need
You're
your support.
Trying.
Yes.
And
And I'll continue to try because
Well-
and it's a labor of love because anything we can do to make our town better, that's what we're all in this for, Dennis.
and believe me, I will try to get all our people behind you.
All right. Sounds great.
I'll do the best I can.
Well, you've done a good job so far.
Well,
Keep up the
thank
good
you.
work, and thank you again.
my friend, and I'll see you maybe 3 or 4
I'll
weeks.
I'll
on
see you in the
next
press
ball
box.
game.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So again, as I was saying,
Thank you, Iris.
So as I was saying, Dennis Donovan, this is Tom Foster and Iris Donovan. We again want to thank Iris for her royalty nomination at the last game and wish her the best of luck. And hopefully she'll be with us for the rest of this year. And we hope we can get some volunteers. But like I said, there's nobody to be able to replace Iris. So thank you very much. We'll see you in another upcoming show. Have a great night and go Clinton. You guys are the best.